Well, hi there, and welcome to this episode of Scotty Paints. We're returning back to the Southern Pacific Narrow Gauge number 18. This is the third time having it on the palette. Each of these sessions have only been about 2.5 hours long, so I've only got about 4 hours into this painting as it is right now. And some of that was because I went back and redid what I did in the first episode, first 2 hours. With redoing the background. Today it's all going to be about details. So let me bring up what I have planned. And you can see over on the left hand side we've got Kevin Schindler's photograph. And if I bring up, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm trying something new this time. I'm using Keynote as a presentation, and if I press and hold, there we go, there's my laser pointer. Okay, so I got my laser pointer here, so you can see all around the outside of the smoke box we've got these bolts that hold the smoke box cover in place, and then we go in and you can see we have all these hatch dogs which keep the smoke box opening cover hatch in closed, and a couple of hinges. So we got all that detail there to do. Over here, well, we have a marker light, and on this side we have a marker light. We need to do that. You can see that the door is open. You can see the red edges of the door here. I got the rough red edges done on the one side. I haven't done them over here yet, so we need to work on the details over here as well. And once we get all, and then of course we've got the front edge of steps and running boards that are painted white. Those need to go in. They go in here. They go up here. Over here, we got to get those put in. Down over here, we got to get those put in. Down along the front bottom of the, there's a couple of steps on either side of the grill of the pilot, what people like to call a cow catcher. Anyway, so we got to put those in, and that's the plan for today, and then everything else will be just plants and rocks. And well, then we got these things down here. What are these things here? Rails. That's right, we got the rails to put in, and you notice they're not perfectly straight. You notice how they sort of bow here and they bow up. Well, it's a long lens, so things have been foreshortened. It's narrow gauge. These are short sections of rail. They tend to do this on old narrow gauge lines, and so we don't have to worry about being real straight with our rails. We can have fun with them here. And plus you can see that you can just barely see some of the ties here. You don't see there. This is well ballasted. You don't see ties in here because of the ballast covering most of it, and plus the angle and everything. So we've got to finish off this, and then we got some weird plants here that we'll throw some plants in. Who knows? Maybe I'll put a big rock over here with the chipmunk sitting on it. Who knows? I don't know yet. So anyway, that's what we have planned for today. Get all that done. I want to get the painting finished today. It's Saturday. It's what? 9:51. I know that in one view the clock was visible in the background, so it's 9:51. I'm going to go for a couple hours and hopefully get this painting finished, because we have another painting that we're going to start tomorrow, which is another piece of railroad art that I want to do. And we'll talk more about that either at the end of this video, or we'll just wait and I'll spring it on you in the next video, which I'll be doing tomorrow when we start that painting. And that's going to be a fun painting. It's going to use a black gesso canvas, and I'm going to cut a mask to mask out part of the black gesso canvas so that we have the silhouettes of the locomotives and the station area, because it's going to be a sunrise picture. So that should be a lot of fun to work with. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll bring up the palette and talk about what we have on today's palette. So I've got titanium white, I've got Mars black, I've got raw umber and burnt sienna. This is going to be for the rails, And then I have all these little detail brushes. This is what we'll be working in. I'm using standard Liquitex colors today. I'm not using the Goldens because I don't need the long dry time to worry about blending. I actually want these paints to dry pretty quickly so I can move through this and get this finished. So with that said, let's go ahead and we'll just move on to the painting here. I've got my coffee. We'll set it off to the side over here. You're going to see me doing that from time to time. And so let's get started. Actually, let me go ahead and we'll bring up the palette cam. For those who want to see me mixing the colors, we'll get these brushes out of the way. So, a little bit of titanium white. That'll probably get me through the whole day. Probably didn't really even need that much. A little dab of Mars Black. And I'm going to hold off putting the raw umbers out because these are the colors I'm going to be working with pretty much for most of the day. All right. So where to begin? Well, I guess we're going to mix up a little bit of gray here. I've got a small thin script liner brush. We're going to load this up and we're going to start working on the bolts that go around the outside edge. And by the way, so you know, this locomotive has 28 cover bolts around the outside edge, 15 hatch dogs and 2 hinges. So 28 of these little circles that I've got to put in right around here. Now this is when I could use a maul stick to support my shaky hand. There's 2. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put in little gray circles here. I will go back, add some highlights to them later, a little bit of shadow detail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're probably wondering, why is he worried about how many of these he has? 11. Well, I have friends that we call rivet counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oops. He's a little bit further away. I might have to fix him. And they like really fine detail on their models. So they're always looking at models that manufacturers are bringing out and counting all the rivets. So let's give them something to count here. Okay, there's actually 29 or 30. So we added a couple extra. just for good measure. All right, now we've got to get the hatch dogs. 15 hatch dogs. There's not an even number of hatch dogs because we've got the hinges over here. So I think I'm going to do the hinges first. And since I'm doing a lot of detail, there's probably going to be a lot of background music on this video. I know when I speed things up and put in the background music, some of you are like, no, we don't need that. But, you know, hey, it's part of life. Okay, hatch dogs. Last week I had my coffee sitting there. I actually painted the entire 2.5 hours. I didn't even think to take a swig. That happens, you get busy painting. And then if I bring up our picture here, and I'll use my laser pointer right over here where I just painted in, you can see that little, just to the right of my laser pointer, you see a little bit of a white speck there. That is an indentation on the front end, and that's called a polling pocket. And if they ever had to push a rail car, or that was up on an adjacent track, they would put a big heavy stick, piece of timber, between that polling pocket and the polling pocket on the corner of the rail car. And they would then push it down the track. They did this because many times in narrow gauge operations, you might only have the one locomotive that's in the area. So I need to put in a dimple for the polling pocket. So I am going to do that very quickly with, you know, I realized I've been talking about this, and here I am painting. All right. Sorry about that. Here I was talking about the locomotives and everything, and I forgot to switch the camera back to show you what I was doing here and putting in the highlights. And I was actually looking at my monitor over here and saying, "Oh, okay, I've got some more details to do." All right. So the next thing, detail-wise, well, let me bring this back. Let me show you something here. So you might have noticed that over on the side of the smoke box here, there is this white pole going up during this run. This is not a normal part of the locomotive. So therefore, it's not going to be going into the painting. The reason that pole was there was that this was a run where they wanted to get some good audio of the chuff of the locomotive and the sound, stack sounds and everything. And so that pole has a microphone at the top of it that then went back to the recording equipment. And I guess they blew out the microphone halfway up because of the noise and everything. So it was just lashed up there temporarily. That's not a normal part of the locomotive, so it's not going to be going in here into this. All right. Okay. So for the rail cars, I need to work on that orange a bit. I don't like the way they're looking right now. I used the golden open for the orange originally, just to get them laid in. And then when I went back to do some stuff, you can see how other colors mixed in really quickly. Not what I was looking for. So, even though I didn't have on my palette list, we're going to quickly mix up. And I've just got some basics. These are Liquitex basics. Way too much, but that's all right. All right, so let's get back to the over-the-shoulder look so you can follow along and see what I'm doing here. I've got to remember to switch this camera back and forth as I go back and forth between palette cam and so I'm not doing things, talking, and you're just looking at the stupid palette or the picture. Pictures of what I'm painting. All right. So we're going to go in and get this Durango orange in here and cover up some mistakes from earlier. Wow. Basic difference between heavy body and the basic acrylics, which are the lower end of the inexpensive mod paints. You truly get what you pay for, and these just aren't thick and a heavy body enough. It's going to take a couple of passes. Wow. It's going to take a couple passes with this paint to get some of these mistakes covered up. We'll let it dry. All right. Well, we'll have to come back to that. We'll let that dry. And we need to start working on getting some rails put in. So for that, I've got this heavy body burnt sienna that I'm going to use. The reason for that is I want to give the idea that the rails are rusted a little bit. Of course, on the photograph, they're really, really light. But let's see what happens when I mix this 20-year-old raw umber in there. Man. Excuse me, 40-year-old raw umber. Question is, have these pigments broken down sitting inside the tube? I don't know. Go back over to the over-shoulder cam. Okay. Not sure where to go next. You ever had that happen to you? Where you're painting, and it's like, okay, I've done this. What do I want to do next? Do I want to put the trees in here? Do I want to put a tree in over here? Bushes? Do I want to work on the foreground? Do I want to put a big boulder here with this chipmunk sitting on it? I don't know. These are questions. Is this dry? That's dry. I need to go back and get the rest of this orange on the coaches cleaned up. It's pigment. This is okay. So since I'm having a hard time with this these inexpensive acrylics going on top of the heavy body, I've just put down some really heavy, plain white titanium heavy body. We're gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna try to put the orange on top of it. See if I can get these cars a little bit brighter color. So we'll let that dry, and now we've got to work on putting trees in. So this is the part that I fear the most because, well, I'm just not that great at putting in trees. Bob Ross does it in a few seconds. It takes me a few days. It takes Mother Nature even longer, but, well, that's just the way things go. Okay, let's settle on some colors here. We've got so I've got these colors that I use for the ties, and I don't want a really bright tree. I want some semblance of brown in there. It's back into the, it's going to be back in the distance. All right, now here goes nothing. Like that brush. Time for some fun. All right, we gotta get some steam coming out of this thing. So for the steam, I am going to go to the titanium white and the golden open colors because I want to be able to have extended drying time to get these to blend out. So I don't know. There is a red rim. If I bring up the pictures here, you can see that there is this, if you look around the outside where it's 18, there's a rim. It's actually red and it says in fine detail, you know, Baldwin Company, etc., 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 etc. So it's about time to put that in. I need to find a very fine script liner brush to do that. Or use the edge of my chisel, little tiny chisel brush, which has been my go-to detail brush for this part of the painting. Okay. Excuse the noise, I want to make absolutely certain that this is dry. signed it. So, as far as I'm concerned, I guess it's done. Do we want to have some poppies in here? Little dots of color. I know. You signed it. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Well, there we have it. Let's see it. 12:19. It's lunchtime. So we started this right around, what was it, 9:30? So I've gone 2.5 hours. So total time on this painting is about 6 hours. 2 of that was to redo the background. This was my first attempt at doing a railroad themed painting. So I've got another one that I'm going to be working on here shortly. I might do some more messing around with this area here. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But for all intents and purposes, we'll say it's done. Hey, thanks for joining with me. Thanks for hanging in there for 3 episodes. Oh my goodness. I got to cut this all down to an hour's worth of time and speed things up because I know that's what it gets, boring looking over the shoulder of somebody painting, trying to make it exciting for you. So I'll try to mix up the music a little bit when I speed things up so you don't get too tired of the same old piano ballad and that. So anyway, hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon for as we start another painting, sticking with the railroad theme. So till next time, thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you. Take care.